So that would be another critique of the evidence. How does that evidence fit with the culture and the meaning for that patient and family? And all the relationships. It's the same phenomena that's happened with ethics. We have biomedical ethics, which is rule-driven, principle, separation, in contrast to relational ethics, or a whole context of caring ethics, where you have to look at the complexity of the meaning and the relationships between all of the different dimensions. And I'll give you an example. Of course, I've been on many of institutional review boards and ethics committees and so forth for our universities and others. And this one situation just always remembered. It was an ethical dilemma that was brought before the ethics committee of our university hospital. And it involved a very severe, very, very rare diagnosis of a premature infant who was barely viable. And it was a very obscure disease that had only been reported in the literature in Italy, like in the 1930s. And so the dilemma was whether to continue this treatment or whether to allow this premature infant, if you could call it that at this point, to just die of natural death. So we had the ethics board, and we had very prominent citizens, physicians, clergy, and so forth. And the physician reported the case, and then everyone kind of responded, but the nurses who were taking care of that patient were in the room, in the same ethics committee, sitting as participants, but they were silent. And after the physician reported his case, this situation as a case, a clinical case, I asked, well, I'd like to hear from the nurses. And when the nurses started speaking, it was as if there were two different stories happening. One was very clinical, very detached, very judgment, diagnosis. The nurses talked about the bruises, they talked about the trauma, they talked about having to revive that baby just to keep it alive, just to give the treatment. And the discussion continued, but the nurses were very respectfully heard, and then it was as if their testimony was dismissed because it didn't count as evidence. So what happened was, and this is phenomena of this decision-making and different uses of different knowledge. So what happened, we went around the room, and everyone, except the nurses, were silent, went around the room, and everyone said, well, I guess we've decided to go ahead and continue the treatment. And I'm sitting there saying, excuse me, I heard very different opinions here that have to be acknowledged. I think we need additional information. So the committee deliberated. They decided, yes, we needed additional information. As soon as we walked out of the room, the nurses came up to me and they said, the reason this case came before the ethics committee was because the nurses had requested that it come before the ethics committee. Secondly, the physician who was presenting the case was also the principal investigator of the research that had a vested interest in continuing the research because he was funded to do this research. And it was just this whole phenomenon that was happening. And so to the committee's credit, physicians from outside the university, from another hospital, came in and were involved. We gathered additional information. It went back, and they decided to let that child die a natural death. So it's an example of different forms of knowledge and what counts as evidence and what counts as knowledge.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
I understand it is such a reliable tool which really can be used by nurses in the institutions, which can also help researchers to articulate very good questions. My question is about limitations. What are the things that people could not do that others can do? And are there other models that we use to generate questions which we can develop evidence.
Ms. Noor, this question to you? Yes. Okay, sorry.
Thank you very much for the good question. As I always say that there are different ways in which we can structure a question and follow up on this question and then search for the evidence. But the problem that we have actually faced is that people don't ask the question. So the issue is that with the initiation phase, people, they are very busy, too many things, too many competencies we need to do, and so on and so forth. So we just ignore the very important whys that we face in the clinical area. So the things which we are focusing on, regardless of the model, whether it's PICO, PASS, or any other model, is that make the tool available in the world, discuss these tools in the meetings, and then you can build a library after collecting all these evidences, and you can teach nurses how to evaluate these evidences, because, as I said, whether it's research-based or non-research-based, we always need to evaluate the evidence, and we don't take the research-based for granted. So the basic ideas about asking the clinical question is have the form available, appreciate and reward those who dedicated some time to ask a clinical question versus those who actually dedicated some time to answer this question and then disseminate and share, not only within the unit but with the hospital as well. And then you can build a database, and this is actually the start. So definitely there are different models, but the methodology and the assumption and the deliverables, they should be the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Can I just add to that as well that we've heard a very, very nice explanation of how to use PICO to ask the question. But I really want to reinforce again that nurses in this room need to then go and answer those questions as well. And I know you didn't have enough time, but I just want to reinforce the use of some of these very quick ways of going and getting some of those answers, like the Evidence-Based Nursing Journal, like the Cochrane collaboration. So you really have to have the resources and the time to answer the question, but stating the question nicely, we've learned how to do that. And also I want to reinforce that research evidence is only one part of the evidence that we need to give excellent nursing care. So I'll just follow up again. I just want that to be a theme that continues throughout the day as you learn how to do and think about evidence-based nursing. So thank you for letting me butt in.
Vice Chair, you want to add anything? Yes, please.
Yeah. Firstly, something Kay's experience as a nurse, working with patients all over the world. I'm very, very grateful to Allah to give you that chance from the spirituality perspective. However, I think it's easy to be sat there and talking about PICO and ask the questions. I'd like to represent the majority of these nurses in the back here. I believe as nurses, and this is an International Nurses Day, do ask the questions. When they go on their wards, I do believe, and I hope, I feel that, they do ask the questions. They do ask well, why is that baby not being fed for longer? Or why is that patient receiving this low molecular heparin? And they do ask the questions. The unfortunate thing that I have found across the board, both from the Arab, African, and Western world, is that they are not supported enough to go through with those questions of why. Rather, they are put down and told, this is it, this is a policy, this is our procedure, you don't have to question. So I think really to empower the nurses, they have to be, please ask the question why and follow it through. Don't allow your management to put you down. Because if you're taking care of your patients and you want to ask, why am I doing this? For what purpose am I doing this? By all means go and search, research. We do have the time, by the way. I disagree with that. We have the time for so many other things in our lives. We have the time to go shisha, we have the time to go and gym, and whatever else. So we do have the time. So please, they ask the question why, but the problem is, what is the follow-up from their line managers, from their top people? Thank you.
evidences and we have different best practices. So if we discuss best practices and invest the time and the resources and then we don't implement and take the best out of it, then it's actually of no use. That's why we have change management and best practices now. They are actually in one discipline or in one department. Why? Because I discussed the best discipline in nursing and then this is a best practice and there's an evidence behind doing it. If the best practice did not change a process or a policy and procedure or a system, then there is no use and there is no implementation of the best practice. Then you've actually just maybe wasted your time. So that's why we say leadership commitment is very, very, very much important. And there is one tool, and this actually answers your question, that helps people to reflect, ask and answer a question regardless of the boundaries that they have, which I use in my clinical setting, which is reflective journals. When you write reflective journal, even you go back years and years, you still remember how the situation happened, the circumstance, what you have did, what you have learned, and what are the literature that corresponds with this scenario. So there is people, there's reflective journal, but without top management and without the readiness to change your practices, then all of this will be of no use. So thank you very much for the nice
I think it's a matter not just asking the question, it's the matter is understanding the questions by patients. And sometimes when you go even, when you communicate with your patients, this is what we find. Most practitioners or most, medical staff, when they deal with patients, they use medical terminologies, so where they cannot understand. So I think you have to, use layperson language, get the information to you, and just make sure that they understand it. Yes, Mr. Ayat? It's not working. You're not lucky today. It's working now? Yeah.
Just wanted to have some comment on what you said just now. If you look at any hospital in different units, each unit has a culture. And if you go through the units, you would see some people are happy in their units, some people are not happy, and some people are okay. Who is responsible for this? I think the main reason here is the leader, the nurse manager, that creates the culture of friendship and support for the nurses who have there. The reason why some nurses do not ask questions is that the nurse manager himself or herself creates a culture of dictatorship.
Yes.
They're afraid to ask you questions. So it's the management style that you're practicing that creates the culture of friendship and support to your team. And I'm sure if the manager or the nurse who is in charge for the unit creates that friendship environment, I'm sure that nurses also can come closer to you and ask questions, not necessarily to you, doctors or other colleagues. Also, another point about having time or not having time. I said in my presentation that nurses alone cannot do the job enough. When we speak about nursing research, we're speaking about different groups of nursing. If some of the nurses, because of their nature of job, they don't have time, they're so tired, I think it's time to put more pressure or to involve others in providing evidence. What I mean here is like nursing educators, clinical resource nurses, school nursing. Nursing schools, they have to update their knowledge and provide their knowledge to their nurses. But there should be a continuous process of search in each unit. And if you see that your nurses cannot go there and log, maybe you should assign somebody to provide some evidence or some research findings, and then share it to the rest of the nurses in the team in the unit itself.
Thank you very much. Maria, you'd like to share?
Actually, I agree with the guest speaker here regarding the role of the leaders, actually, being a national nurse, actually, and one of the leaders. I'm having just a minimal number now. If I'm comparing with my previous work to this work, minimal number of the nurses who's working with me. So I might discharge nurses just direct. So some of them, they are here. but we are having that, culture of just forcing. I'm using the forcing, okay, to ask the question and use the evidence-based practice. I have a medical doctor who is excellent. He's Arabic actually, but he's having the USA mentality. So he's supporting actually all that. So we are having all the time the evidence-based practice on spot, whatever he's reading or he's doing. So I like that thing really enhancing. So it is all about the leaders and about the people and about the charge and about the nurse at the end. So it is. So I think we are just moving, and I'm not saying that we are having that much obstacles. It is now. We are actually coming over and crossing all that thing.
Thank you very much. It's really very important to ask within yourself, because this is even in life, because when you ask yourself a question, you have to know why you are asking yourself the question. So I think at the end of this session, we'd like to thank our guest speakers. We'd like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a short break, and then we'll be back for our
For the strategical partner and event supporters, we invite Emirates Foundation, Dr. Sabiha Shamsi. Ministry of Health, Health Authority, Abu Dhabi. Dubai Health Authority, Dubai Police Healthcare Center, Dr. Ali Singh, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Ghasimi, Director of Sharjah Medical Center, Army, Wakil Ahmed Mohammed, Odoscope, Ms. Jolie Thomas, and for our national nurses for awards, Aisha Ibrahim Zayed, Salma Al-Hani, فلسطين خضر، شيخة سيف سعيد، زهرة علي عبدو، أحمد محمد، جميلة خلف الحوسني، منى يونس الحمادي، محمد الكعبي، and for our Emirate Nursing Association Best Nurses 2012 we have Hiba Jariahandro, George Aquino, Samira Salem, Fatima Muhammad, Adif Ahmed, Bayan Kimamar, Kadao Amiri, Naima Rajab, Rina Filamore, Susan Thomas, Dina Hediat, and for our coordinators, Hiba Handra, Jan Abdu Ali, Oral Joy Brasilia, Ali Brioso, Ciro Thomas, Rayhana, Jesse Matthew, Ali Abdullah, Hosniya Taha, Khawla Ali, Azza Nasser, Marilio Marilad, and for the social groups we have Mr. Mohammed Al-Mansouri from Emirates Heritage Club. Mr. Badr from Abu Dhabi School